When I think about my money and how much I've spent, how quickly I spent it, and where it all went, sometimes I regret, sometimes I don't care. If my life knew the value of my collection, I'd need to be in your prayers. Some men like to gamble, some men like to race, some men like to party, to drink and fall on their face. But I've been collecting knives since the time before my space. Some are fixed blades and I have many that fold. Some go down in value, but some appreciate like gold. There's a feeling inside, a hole in my soul. If there isn't a new knife on its way to my home, order a full custom, get on a wait list. Could be a year or 3, but it's worth buying to me because of the skill of the artist.
Hello boys and girls, welcome in once again. Today I'd like to share with you something that I have never had the opportunity to share on my channel before, and it's probably going to be a first for you as well. This is a knife by Katsu called the Habu. And this design was created by my good friend Michael Emler, who most of you know from his professional sharpening services using Japanese waterstones and his YouTube channel where he reviews knives and has also taught you how to sharpen. Now, this knife is named after a venomous snake in southern Japan, the Habu.
Nagasaki, Okinawa, Hokkaido, Yokohama.
As far as I know, I am pronouncing that correctly. Now, Mike himself has spent years in Japan and his wife is Japanese. So this is not cultural appropriation. Let's face it, he appropriated a woman from the culture. Get it straight. She is apparently not held against her will anymore, so things are going well. All kidding aside, he has a wonderful family, and he has adopted this culture into his life for a very, very long time. Oh. And that's why he sharpens blades the way that he does. He was taught the traditional method of blade sharpening in Japan. This has also influenced his personal taste in knife designs, as well as blade geometry. And that explains why you're looking at what is actually a very rare thing here in a production knife, a full convex edge. So your edge, your blade bevel is basically like this, coming down to your edge. And it's basically this side meeting this side, making it its sharpest possible point. And then what we will do is if you're push cutting, it will actually push material out of the way and open it up. And that's why cutting with a convex ground blade is as effortless as it is. If you've never cut with a convex blade, you really should try it. It is a joy. Now, really, the only popular brand out there that does a convex ground blade anymore in your mid-tier to high-end knives is Rockstead. Now, you can go out and spend a couple $1,000s on a Rockstead, or you can look at one of these for only a couple of $100. Now, unfortunately, I do not have the actual retail price on this yet because this is, as you saw marked on the box there, a prototype. I also don't have the release date on this yet. That will be updated in a pinned comment at some point by myself or by Mike when he gets that information. They're still working on the last of the I guess, little changes that they're going to make before production. And I'll discuss those changes with you so that you know what to expect as well. Now, let's start things off here with the specs. What you're looking at here is a pretty darn big knife. It is a titanium and fat carbon bolster lock with an overall length of 8.875 inches. It's a beast. Your blade length is 3.875 inches, and that's going to be an S90V. It's a full convex grind, as I mentioned earlier, with a cutting edge of 3¼ inches because of the oversized finger choil. That's one of the things that's going to be changing for production. What I love the most about this knife is that it reminds me of the old school, high-end, custom knives made by grail knife makers like Jeremy Marsh, Les Voorhees, Jeff Vandermeer, and Walter Randolph from way back in the late 2000s and early 2010s. The look and feel and the action all remind me of that. I almost can't fathom that this is a production knife. It is, but the overall look of it, the feel of it, the shape of it, the curved bolster, the way that the handles have been contoured on this shape, the shape of the flipper tab, the placement of the flipper tab, the action, all remind me of knives that we all used to just kill ourselves to get our hands on 20 years ago. This was the kind of knife made by somebody like Walter Randolph, WR Blade Works, that you would sleep outside of the doors of Blade Show the night before to get in early to be able to go buy. It reminds me of that aesthetic so much. It has rushed back so many memories from that time period. It's ridiculous. Now, I have enjoyed this knife so much, I was supposed to have reviewed this weeks ago. And my apologies to Mike. I have talked to Mike and apologized to him already, but apologies again, because this was supposed to be done like 3 weeks ago. And every time I go to pick it up, I'll start by photographing it. Then I forget to keep photographing it. I'm playing with it, and I'm fondling it, and I'm holding it. I'm literally sitting here reliving a time in my life that's gone by so far ago, so long ago, I should say. And it's awesome. And I've been wanting to play with it every day. I put it in the pocket every day. I've been enjoying this like it's my knife. And it's not. It's Mike's prototype. He got 2 prototypes. He got the red and black and the black and white. And that's it. That's all he's gotten. It's just those 2. And he hasn't seen this one for like 2 months. So I feel bad about it. I want to make sure I get it back to him as quickly as I possibly can. But this is one of those knives, and I'm going to tell you right now, is going to make a major impact for the collectors in 2025. There are going to be a lot of people trying to get their hands on these, because it's going to bring back the same sense of nostalgia for them that it has for me. They're going to look at this and they're going to think to themselves, wow, that really reminds me of knife A, knife B, knife C, whatever it was from back in those days. The way it's constructed, the way that it looks, the way that it feels, everything. They've really done an amazing job. Now, as I mentioned when I was doing the specs, it is a big knife. Yes, it's big, but it's not unwieldy. Fits in the hand really, really nicely. You could choke up here into the choil if you want to. In my opinion, there's only one missed opportunity on this knife. To truly feel, let me just kind of zoom in once again. To truly feel like one of those customs I was talking about without any distraction, this should have been a hidden pivot. When I go back in my mind to those times, to those knives that I have in my head, They were pivotless designs underneath the bolster. But aside from that, they did everything right. It looks good. It feels good. It's got fantastic ergonomics and a damn sweet action. Oh. Now let's talk about those changes. Here are the proposed changes from this prototype to the production knives. They're going to go from the T6 hardware to T8, because Mike is not a fan of T6 hardware. Most of us aren't. T8, number one, is going to be more common for most of you to have the Torx drivers for. Number two, it's a deeper tooled head, so the driver goes further into it, so you have less of a chance of stripping out the screw. So that's going to be a big deal. They're going to be removing the brand logo from the pocket clip. And they're looking at making the finger choil a little bit smaller just to give you a little bit more cutting edge. That's really it. Nothing major, nothing nuts. And they're discussing future generations already. They already know this is going to be a success. And they're discussing the possibility of maybe doing some future runs in ZDP 189. That really is going to bring you up close to Rockstead. How cool is that going to be? You don't hear ZDP 189 hardly at all anymore. And it's a wonderful high-speed tool steel. And we just don't hear about it very often. Now, it's important to mention that Katsu is a traditional Japanese brand that typically only works with Japanese designers. For them to work with an American is nearly unheard of. Now, I realize it's also a brand that's nearly unheard of here in the US. And to be honest with you, I have no experience with them outside of this prototype right here. But I can say this, if their production quality is consistent and they're delivering a knife this nice across the board with all of them, I'm really excited for Mike. This is going to be a huge success. I think if I were to make one suggestion, actually I'll make two because I'm a pain in the ass like that. I would sharpen the jimping on the flipper tab. It's almost like it's not jimped at all. My finger wants to slide right off of it. And number two, I would add into the back spacer a hidden lanyard post or some sort of hidden lanyard opening like you see me do on my knives. That way, for someone who likes a knife this big but prefers to have it on a lanyard, I know a lot of people do, they have that option and it's not off to one side. And number two, for the great many people who do not like lanyards and don't want to have big slots or big holes drilled into their knife, that's a really nice way to kind of hide it and make it look classy, yet still remain functional. Those are two things that I would do personally. And that's really about it. I think they did a fantastic job overall. The quality is really nice. The balance, the heft, the ergos, it all just works. So I'm excited to bring this out to you guys. I hope you're excited to see it. And like I said, as soon as I have any updates on the release dates, I will be certain to put that in a pinned comment in the comment section down below. Now, I know it's usually scary to go into my comment section on YouTube because it's usually filled with cancer and cancerous people and toxic, horrible, fire-breathing trolls. But if it's pinned at the top, you don't have to wade through all that garbage. You can go straight to the point, see what the release date is, and if I have pricing information, I'll put that in there too. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me as always, and I'll see you on the next video.